Welcome to episode 8 of The Chartered Show. Today I'm joined by Paramesh from Chartered Employee Benefits, and we're going to be discussing medical aid options, and Wade, Wealth Creation Specialist at Chartered Wealth Solutions, and we're going to be discussing how to have cross-generational money conversations. Enjoy the show. In this segment of the show, I'm joined by Paramesh, Director at Chartered Employee Benefits. I've asked Paramesh to come and chat to us around medical aids. Hi Paramesh.
Hi Cam, thanks for having me.
So Paramesh, the reason I wanted you on the show this exact time was I received this email from my medical aid telling me that they were going up by some ridiculous amount, and I went, no, it's not right time to be going up, that's January. So I thought maybe you could just come in and share with us a little bit about why would medical aids be going up in the middle of the year?
Sure, I think you share the same sentiments as many of our members. I think we're all quite accustomed to having our increase in them benefits happen at the same time, which is generally effective 1 January of each year. Since 2020, actually, we've been having these deferred premium increases, which is the email that you've received.
So Paramesh, my email was from Discovery. Is it all medical aids doing it now, or is it just Discovery putting it up at this time of the year?
So interestingly, there's a couple of different approaches that medical schemes have had. The bigger ones, you find the deferred premium increases, so such as Discovery, Momentum, also deferred premium increases. Theirs had come through in September. Yes, and of course Discovery coming through in 1 October. The other strategy there was with some of the medical schemes still continuing to put through their increases in 1 January. So I think it'll be interesting to talk about what those deferred premium increases mean for members in terms of their pockets, because of course it's a shock when you get the email.
But I mean, interesting point is you said we haven't had the increase last year, so
yes.
Obviously that was because of what we were going through. So this is our increase, and we won't be getting another increase in January, or what have they said?
So Discovery is launched. So I'll speak to Discovery because I think our audience today has quite a few members.
Just for the audience, we don't have any connection with Discovery, but they are one of the service providers that we do work with.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So Discovery specifically, their actual annualized increase is 1.98% for 2022. I mean, when you put it into context like that, that's quite a low increase compared to what we usually see in previous years. That sort of 8 to 10% mark that we've been accustomed
Paramesh,
to.
really where it came from is we're getting so many other increases, and now with this increase, that's obviously with the medical aid, we're getting increases in other tariffs and the petrol prices, and so we all went, oh, not another increase.
Absolutely, yeah. So, like I said, we attended a couple of launches where the deferred premium increase is going to be carried into the 2023 year. So to answer your question, Discovery as an example, the premium increase is potentially going to come through in 1 April. What that premium increase is going to be, we won't know. So essentially for the first 3 months of the 2023 year, there won't be an increase. Momentum's done something similar as well, increasing at the same time. So yeah.
Okay, but I think maybe I've gone straight into it, and maybe I'm going to just pull back a little bit and maybe just help us and the listeners understand what it is most of us don't understand that we are actually paying a certain percentage or amount every month towards having somebody look after our medical aids, but
yes.
we don't even know who that is. So maybe just explain, if they did choose Chartered Employee Benefits to be their person that looks after their medical aid, what kind of benefits would there be for our clients?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things we do is advice. Medical aids are notoriously technical to understand. You know, you learn something new every day. So do we in the industry. So our main element that we bring is advice. Helping you choose the correct plan benefit optimization. You know, so even if you don't do a plan change, can you optimize a certain benefit and extract more for that premium that you're paying?
So Paramesh, I now decide to appoint Chartered Employee Benefits to look after my medical aid. What would you come in and discuss with me?
Okay, so typically what we'd like to do once we appoint it is have a look at your current claiming patterns. That's a nice place to start. We generally would look at the last 3 years or so, and then have a discussion about what actually doesn't go through your medical aid as well. You know, there's a lot of out-of-pocket medical aid expenses. Get an idea of that. We go back, do our analysis, and then present some findings in terms of what could be possible, where you can enhance your current benefits, or if there's actually a plan change that's needed.
Let's take it now that I'm a client and I decide to appoint Chartered Employee Benefits as my medical aid consultant. What happens then? Do you come in and have a discussion? How does it work?
Yeah, so one of the first things we do once we're appointed to your membership is have a discussion with you. Really understand what your main concerns are in terms of your current level of cover. Of course, we couple that with our own investigation where we'll go back, look at your claiming patterns for the last couple of years to fully understand the picture. Important part of the discussion is to understand your out-of-pocket expenses as well. You know, there's a lot of out-of-pocket medical aid expenses that come into play that don't filter into your medical scheme and your contribution. So we really try to look at it holistically in terms of your healthcare cover, medical aid, gap cover, all of that.
I think, you know, just a point on that. I know for myself, when I'm looking at the medical aid options, I always think, well, I'm going to go for the most expensive. Because if I go for the most expensive, then I'm going to be taken care of in the best possible way.
Yes.
But probably that's not good science.
I agree, yeah. So it's really very specific to the individual. Like you say, we have quite a few clients as well that might be on the top tier plans. And you will find that they have frustrations where, you know, they may never be hospitalized and they might have a specific claim that's not covered, you know, very well in terms of what the expectations are. And then, of course, it's the, you know, I've been paying such a big premium and I'm not able to get that level of cover that I need. So it is important to factor in what you need in terms of your healthcare needs and choose an appropriate level of cover.
And I think also life happens and changes happen. I know for myself, my son is now over 21.
Yes.
All of a sudden, we're looking at our premiums. They've gone up quite a lot because he's over 21 and we need to make changes. So how often should we be meeting with somebody like you to make the changes to our plans?
I think it's quite important to do an annual review at least. And of course, when there's a life-changing event, you get married, your child turns 21. That's a significant jump in terms of premium, depending on the scheme that you're on. There are certain schemes that might allow you to have your child on till a later age, you know, and still charge child dependent rates. So basically annually to have a look at, has your medical aid needs changed? Has your medical needs changed? And then of course, when there's a life-changing event.
Paramesh, another thing that you mentioned, which I'm hearing a lot more about, is this gap cover.
Yes.
So maybe you could share with what is gap cover and why would we have gap cover if we already have all these fees that we're paying for our medical aid?
Yes, so quite interesting. What you're finding is a lot of clients are downgrading purely because of the affordability in terms of medical schemes. In a nutshell, what is gap cover? Gap cover is a shortfall cover that helps you cover your shortfalls for in-hospital events. That's really it in terms of its dominant feature. There are some other frills that you can add on as needed, depending on your individual analysis. So what we find is you would know specialists in that can charge more than what the scheme rate is.
So more that medical aid rate?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. And that's really when your shortfalls come into play. So that's quite a big reason to have gap cover in place. The other reason is, of course, your co-payments that we have to pay. More and more, you know, when you see more co-payments come through, more deductibles and things like that, money that you need to spend out of your own pocket. There could be an appropriate cover that can supplement that.
So if anybody did want gap cover, would you be the person?
Absolutely, yeah. So when we have that discussion, like I said, we'll look at it across the spectrum. You know, look at a gap cover. Again, gap cover, there's numerous gap cover providers. We work with all of them, as well as numerous options. So it's about selecting the right gap cover to fit your medical aid, to ensure that you sort of have the most comprehensive cover within the budget that you have.
So, I mean, Paramesh, we also have these days, and I know it's, again, sorry for those of you that aren't Discovery, but you go and attend different workshops,
yes.
launches. and then you come back and you report to us. And we are having a day for our discovery clients. Can you maybe share a little bit about what that is going to entail and what date we're having that?
Yes, so date yet to be determined. It will generally we do it between October and November.
Okay.
Once the financial advisors attend the roadshow, we'll have technical training, design presentations and that, and then of course invite clients to attend our workshop. So what do we actually discuss? I think clients want to know how much they're paying, of course, so we always put that into play. And then what are the benefits and changes that are happening for the new benefit year? So that kind of highlight. And then very importantly, what we do is we do a plan range summary. Just a quick recap in terms of all the different plans offered in a particular scheme. And generally what you will find is it triggers with clients, oh, this might work for me, or maybe I could consider this. And then of course we then have a deeper discussion, one-on-one, to look at your individual needs.
So please watch your inbox for an invite from us, inviting you to this day. And there Paramesh will be sharing with you. But Paramesh, thank you very much for sharing with us now, and we look forward to, between October and November, hearing again more details of the different packages that are available. And yeah, thank you for sharing your insights. And for all of you, we look forward to having more of these conversations. Please mention to your retirement specialist if you'd like to bring in somebody from Uncharted Employee Benefits to help you, and we can arrange that meeting. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Today I'm joined by Wade, our wealth creation specialist at Chartered Wealth Solutions. Just to give you a bit of a background, I've asked Wade to come and join us to talk on cross-generational money conversations. So welcome, Wade.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So just to position it, as I said, to give you the background, I was doing an intentional investing workshop for people at Deloitte the other day. And while I was talking to this group of people around about the age of 40, I was sharing with them how it's important that they talk to their parents about their financial planning, because just maybe they're doing all this planning and maybe their parents aren't, and they might have to support their parents one day. So that got me thinking, and that's why I've asked you to join me, Wade, so you could share a little bit about it with us, because the big thing that they said to me was, but Kim, how do we even have these conversations with our parents?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So, I mean, there's been lots of surveys around why people don't start the conversations, and it's just actually because they don't know how to. So it's quite
daunting talking to your parents about money when that's something you've just never done.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also, you don't want them to feel that they're losing their independence, or that you're prying on sensitive information.
Or that you think they haven't done a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's it's interesting, because in some families, money is quite an open conversation. In others, money is a taboo topic. So where do you even start? It's a minefield.
And I think in more families than not, it's not a topic of conversation you have. And I think sometimes as adult children, you might go, my parents have taken care of themselves, or my parents haven't. And actually you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. That's the problem. But also it's quite difficult to ask the question, and then you kind of get given these wide eyes and like, how dare you ask me about my finances? Roles have now been reversed, or that's what it could be perceived as. Very, very difficult.
And I mean, Wade, given your age, I think we can also bring up, because that's the one thing, is you as an adult child needing to talk to your parents. But again, I'm having so many conversations with people who we're planning their retirement, and then they're going, oh, but maybe I'm going to have to look after my child, or I'm talking about adult children. I mean, do you find that happening a lot?
Yes, I do. I think, given what's happened in the world, I mean, COVID was a perfect example. A lot of people losing their jobs, and parents going to them and said, listen, is everything okay? A lot of the time, the clients that we look after, the retirees, have grandchildren that they want to look after, and now that's a concern. So those conversations are probably happening a lot more than what we've been told. So I think it's worthwhile to open that up and make sure that people are having the right conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I just know from the financial planning when we're doing all of it, I always ask the question, so who are the people in your life that you are responsible for financially? And you often make assumptions that it would be your life partner. But so many times you are discovering it could be a sibling, it could be adult children, and it could be your parents. We talk about the sandwich generation.
No, absolutely correct. And it's just sometimes, there's so many clients that have different circumstances. So it's how do you broach asking your folks or asking your siblings or asking your children? And I think you have to, I think there's a guiding principle for intergenerations on this question. And I think we have to divulge and make sure that people understand it's okay.
I know something that we do quite often, and I know you've done it in a lot of your meetings too, is actually where we bring in the different generations of a family together. So bringing in the adult children, bringing in the parents, and actually having a conversation that's way more open instead of everything being kind of hidden and secret.
No, absolutely. I mean, but also you've got to be quite careful because as I mentioned earlier, there's some families that are very open, and there are some families that, are quite old school, where they're very kind of closed off about the money conversation. So I think it is worthwhile to open that up, but also just to read the room. You also don't want to...
Because you need to be sensitive, because let's just look at it differently. For instance, you as parents think, oh, well, I need to tell my adult children about things. But then you tell them about everything, and maybe in a way they then are feeling that they could have the money beforehand, and they're wondering why you're not being more generous. All of a sudden you might be being asked for a loan for a business that they might be doing.
No, absolutely. I think also, from a child's perspective, you wouldn't want to be seen as meddling or prying on privacy. But then at the same time, you also, as a child, if your parents do broach the subject, you also don't want to feel like you're an obligation to them. So again, there's two ways of looking at it. But again, it could be a case of a series of conversations. It doesn't all have to happen all at once. And maybe that is how you break it down in terms of broaching the subject.
Wade, you mentioned to me that you had some tips, and I think it's a good point. And I know a lot of value add comes from these kind of conversations when listeners can go, okay, give me a few tips, let me go and try and implement them.
Yeah.
So now we're here and we're talking this cross generations and we're talking these kind of conversations. Maybe just share with us from your experience of working with younger people and your experience of working with actually older people, of how can we start these conversations, whether it's with our adult children or whether it's with our parents.
Okay. So I think first things first. The first is to choose the right time to speak about it. Obviously, you don't want to speak around the money topic around a dinner where people have had too much wine. You also don't want to chat on a family holiday. There's certain people that shouldn't be part of that conversation. So I'd say that's the tip number one.
So it's actually probably creating quite a safe space.
Correct.
Where you come and you have that conversation.
Absolutely. I think
with an intention behind it.
With an intention, but not a selfish motive intention. It's got to be, I'm looking after your best interests. Also, I think it's worthwhile not broaching the subject when tensions are high. It's got to be in a relaxed and, as you said, a safe environment where there's no judgment. Yes. Okay. The second thing, I think, don't jump to rands and cents. Try broach the subject on a more broad topic, whether that be through an article that you've read, something you've seen on the news, or even a story that you may have heard from someone else. That would be the second one. I think that's a nice way. Yeah.
That's a great point, because it's a neutral place to say, I read this, I heard this, and it just, the conversation then starts
and
flowing.
Then it starts flowing. I think by that way, whether it be your folks or even yourself as the child or even a sibling, I think they're then more comfortable to then start speaking around it and as it unwinds, as opposed to diving straight into, as I said, the rands and cents.
Good point.
Yeah. I think the third one, and sometimes this may be quite difficult, but it's to give yourself time to be present, to stay calm, and be respectful around the conversation. Again, as we know, these money conversations are highly sensitive. So when people speak, listen and do not just hear, but also be respectful and don't portray judgment. I mean, for everyone in the room, it's a tough one. So give yourself that time and that space.
And if we think about it as families, there's often a whole lot of emotions when you say come in and be in the right headspace, because there's a whole lot of emotions that we come in with that are not even from the situation we're in right at that moment. but we've come in with it. So a good.
Yeah, so I think be present. I think that would be the takeaway there. The fourth one, get involved with your retirement specialist. Ask your retirement specialist whether or not your parents or your sibling or your child, whoever's got the relationship, to join in on a meeting and actually broach a subject. I think retirement specialists, we do this every day. And we can sit in a very unbiased manner. We can sit in a very kind of space where we can allow the room to carry on as it needs to. So sit with your retirement specialist and
like more objective.
More objective, absolutely.
Great point.
And then I think the last one, and again, it goes to just don't be disappointed if the first time doesn't work. There are going to be times where you need to take it into a series of conversations. I mean, even if you broach the topic casually, there may be space for a more kind of formal conversation where you dive into the deeper information at play. So don't get disappointed if the first few times don't work. I think it's going to be a journey as opposed just to a destination.
Yeah. Well, it's like planting that seed. By planting that seed, the conversation can grow instead of wanting it all to happen straight away and then actually being disappointed and giving up. So the perseverance. Wade, thank you very much for joining us on the show. Great tips, and we'll make sure that we put those tips in the article as well so you can go back and refer to them. And we really wish you good, courageous money conversations with your family. Thank you for joining us for episode 8 of The Chartered Show. Please feel free to comment, like, and share, and I look forward to you joining us at the next show.